Welcome to this video, and in this video I will gonna make a lounge chair made out of black walnut. And as always, I planed down, milled down some stock. For this project I went to 38mm thick walnut, and when everything was milled down I took over my templates on my walnut and then just draw the line on my walnut, and then I take it to the bandsaw to cut it out roughly. I like to keep 5mm for my router, which I will do later with a pattern bit. Before I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna glue on my templates on my walnut. I'm using CA glue and painter's tape for that job, so it's secure when I'm routing my templates. I use a small router bit, 5mm I think it is, the blade, or 10mm, and I'm just giving it a shallow pass, so 5mm deep, which is enough to use for guiding my bigger router bit on the router table. With end grain routing you always have to take your time so you don't have any tear out or anything like that. In the templates there are 20mm holes, and those holes are meant to be for the joining bars to join left and right together, which will make sense later in the video. Recently I upgraded my router table. I will soon make a video about it as well, and this job was so satisfying to do. Brand new router bit, and yeah, you can get really smooth edges. I'm using a downcut spiral bit with bottom bearing, so I use my reference on the surface on the router table basically. For the joinery I will add some dominoes in the front and back. I'm gonna add 14mm dominoes in the back and 10mm dominoes in the front. Now you don't have to need or use a domino basically, but you can do this joint also with dowels or a half lap, or make tenons by hand. But I have these machines laying in my shop, so therefore I use them. I think you should be good with 10mm dominoes on the back side as well. So if you just have a smaller domino, I think you're good enough with that as well. So for the back, straightforward, just 2 dominoes in one line. So I'm using 2 reference lines for the domino for my leg and base. And for the front I like to do it in a certain way. I am using 1 reference line, and then I'm doing both sides first, so left and right. I will give both sides a pass, what I'm doing here, and then when I have left and right finished, then I change the depth until there's enough space for another domino, and then I will do left and right again, so you don't have any issues with lining 2 dominoes in your joint up, because that's going to be a hard time. So here I'm checking if there's enough space for another one, doing left to right, so then I change the depth, and then it's all good. If you're gonna change the depth twice for the joint, that's gonna be quite hard to get your joint smooth connected like this. So everything was ready for the glue up, and before I'm gluing my pieces together I like to give it a dry fit so I can see yeah, the lamination will be good enough, so all the sides make good contact with each other without glue, so then I'm knowing that with glue this is going to be the same thing. Now it was time for gluing everything together, and this thing is under an angle, so I needed to use different techniques, and I have these angle adapters for my parallel clamps, and they work really well. What I like to do with gluing stuff like this together, I like to add enough glue so I can see there is a squeeze out, and I like to yeah, have paying attention basically on your squeeze out, so you see if the squeeze out is even. That tells me that your pressure is also even. Maybe not completely, but at least I think it is. So yeah, pay attention that everything makes good contact with each other, because you really want to have a good lamination on your joints. So I've been using these templates as you saw before, and in these templates there are holes 20mm wide. I've been drilling those out when they were sticked on my my stock with forcing a bit, really slightly. So now I'm gonna drill out them completely, so I know both sides are exactly the same. For the holes, so when I'm drilling them completely through, I'm using this drill guide, so I'm sure that the holes are exactly 90 degrees downwards. This will help me later in the process to line left and right up evenly. And my kids are always ask if they can help me, and this job was quite safe to do, so why not give it a shot. And he did a great job, so I'm proud of him. Oops. To connect left and right together, I am using stainless steel bars, and they are 3mm thick, so they're quite stiff, and that's sturdy enough to make a chair. I take up all the scratches and all that on the ends, so it's smooth on the ends, so I can get them into my sides. And the holes are exactly 20mm, and the bars are exactly 20mm as well, so they come along all together, snug fit. And this was the first time it came all together and had its first, looked like a chair, lounge chair. To make the back side of the chair, I'm just drawing out some lines and take out the rough material with my table saw, and then all the fine work I will do that on the workbench with my hand planer, so I can dial in the corner just like 1mm, 2mm bigger than actually needed. The rest I will do when it's all glued together, and then I can just match it all with the both sides, so left and right. If you like what you see so far, I would really appreciate it if you give me a follow. And I'm also curious, for all my followers, let me know what you prefer. If you prefer me building something without any explanation, or do you like me explaining what I'm actually doing? I'm curious, let me know in the comments. Thanks for that. So for the inside, I'm just draw the line like this, and then I will do left and right with a bullnose router bit on my router table. So I know my angles on the inside are exactly the same. And then for the middle part, I will use a dado blade on a table saw, and I'm just gonna hug out all the material that's left there. Here I'm using a dado blade until everything was so I was left over with a rough surface, and to smooth everything out I'm using my number 5.5 hand planer to just make it all even. And then I also sanded this up to grit 220, because it's gonna be hard to sand this part when everything is glued together. So now I have good access to the whole backside. To glue the stainless steel bars on the sides, I'm using epoxy glue, because then you have a really long opening time, and I like to add some filling materials in there, so it's more stiff, so it doesn't go all over the place. And for the seating, I am using black leather, and the leather is, let's say, 50 mils shorter than it actually needed to be, so I can put a lot of tension on there. and it's double-sided, so it's not only one piece, and on the ends there is a loop, as you can see, and in that loop the joining bars will be going in there, and then I can put some tension on the material. Here everything comes together, and then that line I draw when I was doing my dry fit, so I know everything is perpendicular with each other and sitting flush. Now I drilled out my holes completely because I wanted to add some details, and I'm gonna use brass, let's say dowels, because it looks like a big dowel. And if you don't like this and you want to build a chair like this, you can also drill out holes, not completely all the way through, so you don't see anything on the sides, but I like to give it a little bit of extra details on the side, and walnut and brass is always a good combination. Now it was time to glue up my back panel on the sides when the epoxy glue was dried, and that was not that hard to do because I can clamp this part easily on the bar that was sitting behind there, and so I can build up enough pressure to glue this thing together. And when everything was dried up, I roughed out my brass dowels. I went from my grinder to my belt sander up to my normal hand sander, and then I sand this whole chair with, I think, grit 320 I went to, so it was quite smooth and everything was sitting quite well together. So for the back, I wanted to have an angle on the outside as well, and I'm using my belt sander with grit 80 to get roughly the shape that I want, and then I will finish it off with my normal sander with a soft pad, 50mm soft pad, to have really nice soft curves on the outside as well. And as always, I'm using Rubio Monaco Pure, and that gives it a really nice dark look on walnut. It's not hard to apply, you just put it on and wait a couple of minutes and buff it up, and then you have a really nice dark looking walnut. So here he is, the lounge chair, and it is exactly what I had in my mind when I was designing this in AutoCAD. So I am super happy with the result. There's one thing that I want to show you in detail, which I didn't show you in the video before, but I'm going to explain you what I did, and that has to do with supporting this pillow here. There is a bar here, stainless steel, and there's a bar here, stainless steel, and that is actually strong enough to keep it all tied together. So there is a piece of plywood here, 80mm thick, that is resting there and there on the bars, and there are two stop blocks which I'm going to show you below there that prevent it from moving. So I phoned up the person that is gonna make the fabric on the cushions, and she explained me she's gonna pack it all in with soft filling material all the way here. So aesthetically, if you look from the side when it's all done, you only see cushion and then black leather, and you do have the support of a really strong surface. Thanks for watching my video. This was this chair build. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to build this chair as well, plans are available. Send me an email or send me a DM on Instagram. Also, there are a couple of discount codes in the description below, and if you watch this video so far, many thanks for that, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate that, and see you in the next one.